Have you heard of Remix? Thanks to the guys at Remix for that intro video. We've got a tidy new React framework to play with, and this one is brought to us by Ryan Florence and Michael Jackson. Not that Michael Jackson. These are the two guys behind React Router. And they've only gone and hired Kent C. Dodds to manage developer experience, which is amazing. Remix has been paid preview only for the last year, but it's just gone open source, so anyone can use it free of charge. So today, I thought I'd take you all through one of their tutorials, and we can get a glimpse of what building an app in Remix looks like. So we're going to start on the remix.run website. We'll click on the docs link at the top, and it takes us to a Getting Started page. Now there's a few options for getting started. We're going to follow the quick start option for this tutorial. Here we have an npx command, and we're going to paste that into our terminal and follow the prompts to get started. I'm going to select JavaScript for this demo just to keep things simple. Once that's done, I can cd into the application and type npm run dev to get started. And once that's up, we can visit the application at localhost 3000. We have a demo application here that's been created for us, and you can have a look through all of that yourself if you're running this demo. Now we can open VS Code, and the first thing we're going to do is add our first route. We'll go to the root file, scroll down to layout, and we'll add a list item with a link to posts. If we click on the new link, we get a 404 because we haven't actually created the page yet. So we'll add a post folder to routes, and inside that we can create an index file. We'll add a posts component here with some standard JSX. I'll save that now, and we're getting null. I'll reload that and click on posts in the nav bar, and okay, now we're seeing Remix's built-in error boundary. It's telling me that there's no components. I think what I've done is I have named it a JS file instead of a JSX file. So I'll fix that now, and you can see that we have posts showing at that route. Okay, so next we're going to load some data. Data loading is built into Remix. So we create a loader, and we're importing the useLoader data hook from Remix. To start, we're going to simply return an array with a couple of objects, each of which has a slug and a title. We can now pull in this data as posts using the useLoader data hook. We'll map over each item in the array and render a list item with a link to the post slug. And we have an error, I forgot to import link from Remix, so I'll fix that up. And now you can see we have a list with the two posts we mocked up. So we'll do a little refactoring here, and we'll start by creating a post module and add a get posts export. I'm just going to copy the data we have here and return it directly inside of get posts. And in the loader, I can simply return get posts, and we have the same result. So if this was a real application, we'd probably want to store our data inside of an actual database. But to keep this demo simple, we're just going to use the file system instead. There's going to be a bit of Node file system code coming up, but we're not going to go into too much detail on how that all works, as ultimately that won't be how you're going to use your Remix application in the real world. Hey, also, if you've made it this far, could you please hit the like button and maybe add a comment below? That would really help me with the YouTube algorithm and getting this channel off the ground. At the root of the project, we'll create a new posts folder with 2 markdown files. We'll name these the same as the 2 slugs we created earlier. We're going to install front matter from npm, which will help us read from the file system. So I'm just pasting this code in from the docs, but essentially it's going to read these new markdown files and return some data for us. We're also going to install tiny variant, which will help us with validation, and we'll add that to the get posts function. Now we're going to need some way to visit the route for each post, and we will do that with a dynamic route. Inside of route/posts, we can create a slug file, which will basically turn each slug into a route param, which we can then use to render the correct data on the page. For now, we'll just return some fixed JSX to make sure that we can see the page. Okay, it's telling me in the terminal that I'm missing async on that function, so we'll fix that, and now we can see that the dynamic routing is working well. In this file, using loader, we can access params, which we will use to return the slug to use inside of the component. Once that's done, we can now dynamically render the slug in the JSX. Next, we want to read the full post data from the file system. Inside of the post module, we'll add a getPost function. I'll just paste the code here from the docs, and you can see this returns the slug and the title. Back in our slug file, we can import getPost. We'll add some validation here too in case of a broken URL, and now we can return the data using getPosts and the param. Next, we'll add another NPM package to help us parse the markdown into HTML. Making these changes now means we can send some HTML with the data to the slug file. In the slug file, we can take the HTML and set it inside of a div, which now renders it on our page. Nice. Looks like the title is there twice, so we can delete this line here. Cool. We can read the posts we manually created, but next we're going to set up an admin route where we can actually create new posts through the app. So we'll use the same techniques here to load the posts, and we'll map over them here too to create links. We'll add some styles here by creating an admin CSS file inside of admin/styles, and I'll just copy and paste this CSS from the docs. Each route can export a links function that returns an array of link tags in the form of objects and not HTML. It looks like this. So we can visit admin and we can see the links and that the styles have been applied. Inside of routes, we're going to create a folder for the child routes of the admin file we created earlier. There's a bit to grasp with routing here at first, but it doesn't seem too complicated overall. We create an admin folder and an index page inside of that. Here we'll create a new component with a link to the new post route. Every route inside of this new admin folder can now render inside of the route/admin file. We just need to add an outlet component to that file to make it work. So we'll create a new route inside of admin, and we'll add a new post title. So let's visit the admin route in the app, and you can see the new post link we added. We can click on this link and it takes us to the new file we just created with new post. In this new post file, we'll create a new form. We can use the form component from Remix, and the rest will just be plain HTML. We'll go back to the post module where we can add a create post function, and we'll paste the code from the docs, and you can see that basically what it does is it takes the post data and writes a new markdown file to the system. Back in the new post file, we'll bring in a couple of imports. We can see the action function here now, which will take the submitted data from the form and use it to create the new post. And once that's done, it'll redirect back to the admin page. All right, let's test this out and create a new post. And you can see that it appears on the left side with the other posts. All right, we'll use invariant again to validate the data we're posting inside of our action function to return any validation errors. In the UI, we can access the errors with a useActionData hook. Note how we don't need to set anything in state for this. It's all handled inside the action. We can render the errors if any exist. All right, let's add a fake delay to the action to mimic an actual API request, and we can add some pending UI with the useTransition hook. Now, if we create a new post, we get some validation, and once we fix that, we can also see that the fake delay is working to show our pending UI. And finally, if we check the file system here, we can see the new markdown files that we've created. So that's it for this tutorial. I'm interested to see if I can get this integrated with something like Firebase. So if that's something that interests you, maybe let me know in the comments below, and I can look at making 1 or 2 videos with Firebase authentication and maybe using Firestore database. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.